What's up guys, it's Topics, and we have a plus 15 Halls of Atonement commentary for you. So we're going to gather all of these packs at the start here and bring it over left. This is the typical first pull. You're going to send Lust, and all of your stops, all of your kicks. I typically Shockwave and AoE kick here first, which I've already done. You can focus the shard here. The only thing that needs to be kicked regularly here is the Obliterator, the two Obliterators. The Collector and the Houndmaster are only going to go off once in a while, so you can like assign a ranged to a Houndmaster and like maybe your healer to the Collector, and then you can have everyone else kicking the Obliterators. Anyways, very dangerous pull. There's a lot of dodging, a lot of kicks and stops, and then as the tank, you get a magic debuff that's going to need to be dispelled off you by the healer. You can also dwarf it if your stacks are getting high. High stacks to me would be like 15 or something like that, so. Anyways, we're going to finish this off. I also want to note that the routes in halls are probably some of the most diverse that I've seen. There's a lot of different like micro adjustments you can make in here to your pulls. So there's a lot of routes that are going to look different in here, including this one. I don't even know if I were to do this dungeon today that I would still pull it the same way, but for a 15, this route is definitely completely fine. So again, just gathering all of this, there's a lot of kicks and stops. You just mainly want to stop the Obliterators, which are the Wicked Bolts. Those are what can one-shot people, especially if it's showing an AoE. As you can see, like the DK almost dies there. The Collectors only siphon life every 15 seconds, and if that channel goes off for a couple seconds, it's fine. So don't panic about that siphon life channel. They just heal themselves for a little bit while they're channeling on you, but the Wicked Bolts are the ones that you want to for sure make sure don't go off. What we did here though is we actually focused an Obliterator down right away, just so that we had one less caster to deal with. So we're gonna finish that pull off. I think after this Thrash I go into the next pull, because I see where this patrol is and I don't want it to go back over here by the Slasher. So we're going to pull all this, and as soon as my AoE kick is up, which is basically now, as I try and get aggro back, I'm going to go into this Obliterator and kick it as soon as it goes off, which it did. And then I believe once one of the casters is done here, I'm going to go into the next like patrol pack with the Houndmasters. It'd just be hard to drag these over without one of the casters being dead. So yeah, so these casters are dead, so I'm going to go into this patrol pack. And the rest of that's going to come over. And then as we finish off these Gargons, I'm going to go into this middle pack here. And in hindsight, I probably could have pulled this Slasher right away. This pack is not that dangerous. There's only one Obliterator to be kicked. The Houndmaster is like every 20 seconds. So the kicks and stops here are pretty easy. But I see this is about to go stone form, so I pull it. But again, I could have pulled that right away. The Slashers, I don't find them particularly dangerous to fight one as a tank. They just do like a knockback, and then you just have to dodge the swipe. The most dangerous part about them probably is their AoE. The Disrupting Screech. It's a group pretty hard, so that's why you don't want to ever pull two Slashers at once, because if two of those Screeches go off at once, the group's probably dead. But now that those casters are dead, I'm going to go into this next Houndsmaster pack, and we're going to finish off all of this. As soon as that last Houndsmaster is dead, I'm just double checking the route here, because I've changed it so much in this dungeon. Anyways, those are almost dead, so I'm going to go into this next pack and kick this caster right away. Keep in mind, I went around this way. You can just cut across right here. I didn't have to go the far way, so I guess I didn't realize there's a little gap there. Just making sure that gets kicked. And I'm going to this next one here. We're pulling these groundskeepers. I don't know what that ping was about. And then as soon as this obliterator's killed off, we're going to go into the patrol, just so that I'm able to drag everything over. I didn't want the patrol to be too close to the other mobs, so I'm just waiting for it to get forward a little bit. And then once that Houndsmaster is killed off, we're going to go through the rest. There's one obliterator that's going to need to be kicked often in this pull, and then the collectors are just going to go off like every 15 seconds. So the kicks here are actually not too bad. You probably could pull that Houndmaster Patrol in with this pack as well, if I'm being honest. I think the mage died to aggro, if I'm not mistaken, which was my fault. I should have gotten aggro better on the groundskeepers that walked in. But anyways, we've seen all this before, so I'm just going to skip this. We're going to jump down here, and then I'm going to pull this 4-pack over for funnel. And I want to make sure that I also start combat with these collectors before bosses finish spawning, because if you do not tag these collectors before the bosses finish spawning, these collectors will actually despawn, and you will not get to fight them. But because I engaged them before the boss spawned, they respawn and you're able to fight them and get that percentage. I've lost percentage on these mobs before, so just don't make that same mistake as I did. Make sure you tag them before the boss spawns. You're going to want to press the defensive on every one of these crumbling slams. It hits the tank really hard. And I also want to point something out here too. Once the boss is casting this very last crumbling slam, and you see that beams is coming next, you want to do like a quick drag out and give your group room to dodge the beams. So you'll kind of see what I do here. As soon as that's done, I do a fast drag out, and then my team has a lot of space to work with these beams. So that's kind of how you know when you need to move the boss out a little bit. And once these beams are done, and I'm going to get Crumbling Slam cast on me again, I'm going to put it over here by the other puddles. Which your team should also be trying to bait. That bait wasn't done very well. And I didn't do this very well either. But you should be trying to put the slams by where the other puddles are to try and keep the floor as clean as possible. I do a good job with this one, putting the slam where the other puddles are. And as you can see, I do a quick drag out here because I see beams are starting again. So now my group has a lot of space to work with, and this boss is just rinse and repeat. So we finish that boss off, and then I go into this next lust pull, and I'm just double checking the pull again. So it's this Reaver with the ankle biters, and then these two Reavers as well. Also going to pull these ankle biters in as they pass. So a lot of ankle biters, which is just mainly hard on the tank. And the Reavers are also hitting the tank pretty hard. I'm pulling this caster when that gargoyle is down, but it doesn't really matter anyway because I'm actually pulling this slasher in with this pull. I wanted this slasher for count right here. Again, having one slasher is completely fine in my opinion to pull. They do take a long time to kill, but if you look at their score efficiency count, they're actually not that bad. So I would not be too worried if you have to pull 2 or 3 of them in the dungeon. Just make sure it's one at a time. So I believe once we're finished off with this caster, we move on. Yeah, so I go pull this 4-pack here once we're done with that caster. And then I also believe I'm going to go pull these 2 obliterators in a second here. People are holding CDs right now, so I probably should get going. And I honestly probably should have pulled big on this. I probably should have pulled these groundskeepers in here too right away, because both my DPS just popped their CDs, so that's a time where I should have been aware of what was going on there. So the casters are dead now, so it's probably pretty safe for me to pull the rest of this stuff over here, which I think I'm going to do in a second. Yeah, so I pull the rest of that stuff over there, plus this other slasher. This is basically going to be our last pull. So the pathing and everything worked out really nicely in this area. You just got to make sure you're keeping an eye on where all the patrols are in this area, depending on what you want to pull. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these 2 guys here, because they're going to be funnel in for the second boss. That slasher is going to turn stone in like 5 seconds, so we're just fighting these down here, waiting for it to go stone. Kicking this. Alright, here we go. So, yeah, if you run up here, this, like, the top of the stairs is actually LOS. You didn't actually have to come around this corner like I'm doing, because it's like LOS all the way up until here. But for those of you that are doing this next time, you don't actually have to go around the corner. You just have to walk up here and they'll run all the way up. So now I'm going to go pull boss. AoE kick is super OP on this boss. When he does the stone call and pulls all these ads, AoE kick is OP. I don't have AoE kick right now. But if I did, as soon as these go to middle and start casting like this, I could have AoE kicked and they would all run in. And AoE kick has like a 12-yard range, so you can get all of these very easily as long as you're in the middle of all of them. But grips is good here, AoE kick is good here. Other than that, you just want to be trying to stun them and kick them. The nice thing is all these bolts go on the tank, so even if they are sitting out here casting, it's not that big of a deal because the bolts are just hitting the tank, so you can just pop a defensive or spell reflect and you're gonna most likely live those bolts. But yeah, just position the boss out of the blood pools, kick or grip the ads in, and then make sure if you get the leap that you're smashing these statues, and that's pretty much the whole fight. So I'm not gonna really show much more of this. Now the next pull, I will say I have seen some tanks pull it out into the hallway. I don't do that. I'm not really sure what the benefit is. I don't really see the benefit of pulling it out into the hallway, if I'm being honest with you, other than taking 10 more seconds because you're waiting for everything to run out. This particularly isn't that hard of a pull in my opinion, so I'm just electing to go in and gather everything with a body pull. There we go. So yeah, you see how nicely like everything's gathered here. It really wasn't that bad, so I'm just fighting it inside. We just have to kick the 2 Houndsmasters when they go off because you don't want those Gargans to be empowered. So we're gonna skip this. Timer is a little tight here, so which it always is tight in halls. We're gonna get out of this 4-pack and we're gonna kick and kill off the Obliterator. And we're gonna go into boss. I'm just making sure this gets kicked. There we go. And as soon as this Obliterator is dead or close to dead, I'm gonna pull boss. The boss also cast a bolt, and so does the Obliterator, so we just don't want 2 bolt kicks going off this entire fight. Yeah, as that Obliterator is almost dead, we're gonna pull boss here. So I think we can handle a couple bolt kicks at once. Just for a few seconds. There we go. So yeah, the only thing about this fight as a tank is just dodging the puddles, obviously, and then just trying to keep boss close to a canister. Like, let's say this is the only canister up. You wouldn't want to be tanking the boss all the way on the other side of the room. You just want to make sure you're tanking it relatively close to the canisters so that the DPS can pre-position and kite their ad into the canisters. Other than that, this is basically just a heal check, making sure that the healer can actually talk the group up. There's a lot of damage here. This is probably one of the bigger healing checks of the dungeon because the AoE pulsing damage that's out when this ad is spawned. Also, never less this boss because you need it for mini boss. So, anyway, we're gonna skip that. There we go. One quick note: if the boss had just cast like the fire puddles that spawn all around the room and those are still going off when you finish, do not walk through this portal because one of those fire puddles can actually spawn on the other side of this portal, so you could like walk through and get one shot and not know it. So just wait for the fire puddles to finish and then walk through the portal if you end up getting that bad overlap timing. But anyways, we're gonna go into the mini boss in Lust here. So I'm gonna go up here and kick it. And then I have seen some groups LOS it around the corner. I used to do that as well, but I would play this in the middle. Oh, and then a quick note. We also lusted too early. You want to lust after the Dark Communion because this Dark Communion is healing the boss. So essentially, this lust right now is doing nothing. You want to wait till the Dark Communion's done and then lust. And then you also want to play this boss in the middle of all these ads because your DPS that are funnel classes, which we have a DH and a mage, are getting funnel value off of these ads even though they're not active. So that's why you don't want to tank it around the corner. You want to tank it in the middle of all the ads, just for that funnel benefit. But anyway, we're going to see all the DPS are popping cooldowns. We're going to see how fast this guy can die. I think I go into battle stance here. If not, I should. I don't know why I didn't. You should be in battle stance here as a warrior to do as much damage and get that extra crit because you're not really taking a lot of damage here as a tank. Other than that, you just have to kick this bolt and dot and just space out when you get the puddles. But we got boss to like 16% after basically one phase. This is DPS check because if you don't get the boss low enough with less than CDs after one phase, it's going to heal itself and you're just going to kind of be chronically behind. I would say as long as you get the boss sub 25% on the first phase, you're probably fine. But anyways, if you have some of these ads up, you should go into last boss immediately so that your DPS classes can get some funnel value again, instead of staying back and trying to finish these off. I do go into boss basically right away though because we don't have much time. We also don't have a battle res, so it's extremely sketchy. We can't have anybody die. This last boss is basically just dodging the frontal, dodging the statues that get thrown, which these are way better now that they have an arrow. I can't believe in Shadowlands that those had no arrow. You had to like look at which way the statue was facing, which was kind of hard to see. Yeah, this is basically just a dodging fight. The only difficult part of this fight is this part when he does Door of Shadows, pulls all the statues to the middle, throws them out, and then does Ritual of Woe, where a beam goes out to each statue and you have to soak it. And once you're soaking it, you do take ticking damage that hits pretty hard, which this is why AMZ, Darkness, Barrier, group cooldowns, like raid defensives are good here. Now I will say, as a tank, you should be trying to soak 2 of these. Like, so right now I could soak this one and this back one at the same time if I'm close enough to boss, and you'll see me do that here. So there, you see how there's only one going out here and one going out here to these 2 players? That's because I'm soaking the other 2. I'm close enough to the boss right now where I'm soaking both of these at the same time as a tank, and it's not really doing a lot to me. So you'll see like my health bar just barely even moves. So always soak 2 as a tank. And then yeah, and then this boss is just rinse and repeat, so I'll just skip and show you guys what timer looked like. So timer was 42 seconds under. We had 4 deaths. Again, this dungeon, you need to play super aggressive. You ask yourself like, oh my gosh, 40 seconds left. 4 deaths isn't too bad, but you make it, you know, it makes yourself wonder if you can time a 16 or 17 on this. And you definitely can. You just have to pull more aggressive. Like a lot of those pulls I did, I could have chained a lot sooner. I could have also pulled bigger a few times because my DPS were holding their CDs a couple times, expecting me to pull bigger. So this is gonna be one of those dungeons that you have to just pull astronomically big and just hope your DPS can blast. And you know you're gonna need probably coordinated kicks and stops in a high group as well. So yeah, this is definitely probably the hardest dungeon in my opinion this season. I think it's a slightly harder than Priory after the Priory changes. So best of luck on it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this commentary. Give it a like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next. Actually, you know what? We won't see you in the next one because this is the last commentary. Halls of Atonement was the last one that I had to do. Now that's not to say that I'm not going to do any more. Again, obviously I'll do more commentaries in future seasons, but for this season, we'll have to see. Um, I think most of the commentaries were done at a plus 15 level, so they should suffice. I think most likely for the rest of the season, bearing some minor route changes. The only one I would potentially redo is Dawnbreaker, just because I did that one pretty low. But I do have tip videos coming out where I'm going to summarize my best tips for all these dungeons, so look out for that. All right, I'm gonna shut up. Peace. Shout out to all the Patreon members. It's because of your support that I'm able to continue making Protection Warrior and World of Warcraft content. Thank you.